Good evening, everyone. This is Ray signing in from Johannesburg on Bonds Bay Station. Today we have a very interesting session. We are joined by two incredible guests from the US across the Atlantic. Uh, Today I would like to talk about something which really relates to the current pandemic situation we are in and how the whole society, various sectors of societies are struggling to fit in and basically go back to their normal lives or trying to adapt various strategies how to get the life going. Uh, so today we're going to talk about a product and a service, basically, which is helping you students, companies, organizations, professionals uh, to go back to work. So without further ado, I would like my guests to introduce themselves. Chris, over to you.
Good morning, Grace, and thank you for joining us and hosting us. Well, on my side, I've been busy. My name is Chris Fillon. I'm the general manager at Crisis Go. I'm coming from a big experience around building SaaS business over the last 20 years, especially in the communication domain. So that's been my focus for the last 20 years. I've been an SVP sales at Everbridge prior to their introduction and really focusing on mission critical communication all those years. Joined Crisis Go in early 2019 to build a company, bigger stage, and really going after not only the K-12 and school, but also helping a large organization, private organization, to really get really the employees more safe and all the students and staff safe. That's basically what my everyday's job, helping people to be safer.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. Tim, please uh, introduce to our audience.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Tim Brassett with Crisis Go. I've been with Crisis Go for just about a year and a half now. I came to Crisis Go from retiring law enforcement as well as military. So an interesting background as far as police and military on my side. I came to Crisis Go with an understanding of response to emergency situations. I spent a good portion of my life responding to emergency situations. And I'll be introducing certain tools that Crisis Go has created to increase safety all the way around.
Thank you, Tim. So I've been thinking that, in this post-pandemic era we're living in, uh, I think humans have never been so technologically advanced the way we are in this phase of the history. We have the best of the technologies, we have best of the communications, but each time challenges like these are presented, all of us struggle to fit in and how to adapt and how to improvise. Uh, Crisis Go, I have noticed that, especially in the post COVID 19 era, let it be schools or organizations, institutions, uh, airports, uh, the main challenge is that how do we monitor, track, trace individuals, and how to ensure that a safe work environment is there for people to get on with their lives. So, Chris, I would like you to explain two things. Tell us briefly about your journey, and then tell us the X factor of Crisis Go. Over to you.
Sure. So I would like to start by saying that, our mission at Crisis Go is to really have everybody be safe, right? Helping everyone to be safer. And that's really what our motto, our mission statement. And we really think that in order to be safer, you need to have everybody be prepared, be aware, and be ready. Um, and it's particularly important with the COVID-19 situation. Until we have the vaccine, until we have the medications to really fix that, everybody has to be aware that safety is a matter of every single person, and be ready and be prepared is really going to be very key. In the US, I'm counting 231,000 people dying, because of COVID-19. And until we have a vaccine, we're going to really face a situation where everybody has to really be screened, be tested, be quarantined in case of a potential case, and really manage that through the whole type of organization, either a small restaurant, you cannot go maybe in a restaurant anymore, or maybe in the future we'll have to have some constraints to go to a restaurant, but also going to your organization day to day or going to your school. So for the next couple of months, we're sure the COVID-19 is going to really impact the way we do business, the way we do day-to-day interaction with others. So CrisisGo has been in business since 2015 to really provide a complete communication system for mission critical safety situation, for big event like hurricane, fire, or thing like that, but now also for COVID-19, which is a pandemic. We've been dealing with pandemic since day one with our product. So CrisisGo launched Safety iPass. This is the name of the product. We launched in early August, in fact, end of July, and helping any organization, whether it's small or large. We go with, we help large school district with 70,000, like, with the Guilford County, we have 70,000 students, using CrisisGo, to a small restaurant staff with 15 or 20 staff, trying to really manage a restaurant in a situation like that. So we really address not only the screening to really detect, what is the situation with each person before going at the school, before going at work, but also we manage the entry. We validate, the situation of each person before having person coming in the office. And of course, we really detect potential close contact and managing the quarantine of it. So really keeping the staff and the students from being exposed to COVID-19, protecting the organization, protecting the building, making sure that as nobody is basically getting infected, and really protecting that and detecting that. That's basically our mission statement, helping people to be safer when they work, when they go to school.
Oh, that sounds really profound, and I think I would like to learn all of this. Thanks for that, Chris. So I would like to go to Tim for our audience, and you all are in for a really immersive session on. You guys will get sort of hands-on training on how the product works. When the pandemic hit, I noticed that the basic fabric of life was stopped. Like, kids can't go to school, we can't go to restaurants, I can't take a taxi, I can't go to watch a film, I can't travel in a train, I can't fly. And I think the governments and the society realize that in order to cope up with this situation, while a vaccine comes on board, the basic definition of how to deal with a virus is to quarantine it. So everyone was quarantined, we were isolated, and I realized that once everything opens, there needs to be some measures or technology in place or process where at least people can start coming back to their normal lives. And the first step of that normal life, to me, is school. Kids can go to school. They should go to school. They should carry on with their education. We are able to go and buy our groceries. We are able to go to hospital for shopping, dine out, travel. So Tim, I would request you to do your magic and give us some good coaching on what is iPass, how does it work, what is it all about. Over to you.
All right. So our goal initially was obviously to create a safer environment. By environment, it's obviously safe for everybody to lock themselves away and never have contact or exposure with anyone. That's also devastating to economies and to businesses. Our goal was to create an easy way that was cost effective, that didn't require a lot of extra equipment for businesses and other organizations such as schools and universities to allow them to go back to work, to allow them to begin operating again in a safer fashion. So what we've come up with in Safety iPass is a tool that allows us to send out a daily questionnaire. A big portion of it is documentation to ask everybody prior to entering a venue or a building um, questions about their health status. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the very beginning where we built our format. What you're looking at is our Safety iPass console. This is the database where we create all of the questions, all of the certification badge coloring, if you will, as well as the schedule that these go out. Notice I'm showing you a school one. A school one is different than a business model. A business model would not have a student module in it. It would simply have their staff as well as their visitors that may be coming into the venue. I like showing the one inclusive of student because it shows how detailed the tool itself can be. So if I go in and I take a look inside of our staff or our student model, we have questions that we have built, and these are based on the US CDC guidelines. Obviously, globally, there are lots of different questions, lots of different governments and organizations involved in deciding what questions should be asked. So we've built these in a fashion that they can be easily adjusted. When a customer comes on board with us, we build these questions to their specifications the very first day we're with them. We also give them the ability to go in and modify. They can change anything they want by selecting, typing over the top, and simply saving their changes. It's almost as easy as a Word document. It should also be noted that the questions themselves are not just static questions. We have built-in logic, and the logic allows us to dive deeper in questions. For example, if someone were to ask a question of, answer a question with, my child has a fever for a student, or an employee, I have a fever today, it will drive down and ask more questions about symptoms, gaining greater detail. The same with close contact. If someone makes a statement of having possible close contact with somebody that's positive with COVID-19, it will go down and ask more detailed questions. And for our purposes, it's important to let everybody know that these questions are truly whatever you want them or need them to be. And any detailed higher level questions can be exactly what you want them to be. So we build them to specifications. We give every organization the ability to go in and change them as need be. So emails, we send out all of our questions via email, and we do this for a very good reason. Why did we select email over possibly another type of communication? Email is the global standard that people are used to. It's easy. Almost everybody out there has an email account. Almost everybody out there is used to looking at that email account, at least on a daily basis. We've created a non-intrusive way of getting information out daily on a schedule. And what we've noticed with our customer base currently is it creates almost a new normal to start their day. So you get up, you look at your email, you open your email that you've just received, and it asks you simply to answer some questions. If you notice this email that I had sent out this morning, it says who I am. By the way, my name is Crisis Go Trainer today. And it asks me, it lets me know that we're conducting a daily self-certification, if you will. And it asks you to report or reply with your answers. And when I selected those questions that I showed you earlier that we populated, we built to specifications appear. I answer these truthfully or as truthfully as I can. I selected, I meet the criteria. I have no symptoms. There's no reason why I should possibly be quarantined from other people. And when I clicked on the submit button, it gave me instantly an ID badge to get in. This is a colored QR code. We've created the colors for easy recognition. It should be noted that people can go in and change their answers prior to entering a building. If they made a mistake, if they answered incorrectly and found out the facts to be different later. I put mine as I'm fine, but maybe in a business organization or even a school, I'm not even going into the building today. I'm working remotely. I can simply go in and change my answers to remote, resubmit, and it gives me that badge. So everybody has the ability to go in and change their reply prior to entering a building. And we think it's important to give that people that flexibility. The badge itself takes us to another level. So I'm going to move this out of the way and let's talk about the rest of the format we've created. So we built the questions. We built the follow-on questions to fit an organization's needs. Then we went in and built in IPAS settings. I see many organizations that want to have good analytics, whether it's for their staff or if it's education for their students as well. The colored badges I showed you earlier, we have a green one for entry, we have orange for quarantine, purple for sick. In the reality, they can be any color any organization wants us to set them up as. It can also be as detailed or simplistic as an organization needs. Some want all these analytics about entry, quarantine, sick, but not COVID-19 related sick, at risk, possibly having been found positive for COVID-19 or working remotely. This is up to the organization. Many would like it much easier, where they have a green badge that says, yes, you may enter based on your answer, and a red one that says no, without all the other analytics. That's up to each organization. And again, we build it to their specifications. So aside from the questions that are asked, the badge settings that are received, we have a schedule. We believe the schedule is hugely important to each organization to make a decision on how it should go out and what their people see. Notice I have multiple buildings that are taking place here. This is looking from a school point of view. If I'm a business that has multiple offices in multiple different locations, these would be all of my different locations for my offices as well. I have a schedule that is built exclusively for my one building. In this case, it's my high school. And I have an email that I have created to go out to my people. So the only thing that CrisisGo requires to be in the body of this email is a place for the name, either of the student or of the staff member. The report button that requires them to go in and answer questions, and this IPAS URL that allows them to retrieve that colored QR code later in the day. They can go in and just simply click on the URL and it'll reappear on their device. So we allow the rest of this to be completely customizable because we believe that every organization should send things out in the verbiage they choose and make it highly recognizable by their staff or their parents if this should be an education venue. Aside from that is the days it goes out. We can set it up for any day of the week, every day of the week if we choose to do so. And it's simply selecting, and again, saving a very simple update. I have mine currently scheduled to go out forever, every day, Monday through Friday, until the end of time, that email will go out. If I had a closure date or time off that I know we're going to be closed for a certain amount of time, I can select an end date so the emails stop automatically going out. I also get to select what time I want them to go out. It could be any time of day. I see most organizations sending these out 2, 3, maybe even 4 hours prior to the normal start of a work day inside of a building. They want people to wake up to it. They want them to see this on their device first thing in the day. It becomes part of their new normal routine to take that extra 5 or 10 seconds to open their email, answer a question, and click on submit. Very simplistic for the user. And this last portion is a simple administrative report. We set that up again for any time, and all this does is generate a quick report that goes out to the administrators, giving them a glimpse at how things have been answered. I usually see the questions going out themselves 2, 3, or 4 hours prior to the day, and this report coming into the leaders in an organization, usually just a few minutes before the day begins. Kind of gives them a heads up glimpse on what they're facing for the day as the day begins. We do have the capability for an escalation report, which means if anybody answers, any one person answers a question in a specific fashion, an email will be generated to whoever I need it to go to. For example, as a leader in an organization, if I have one of my staff answer that they have been found at risk and positive with COVID-19, I'd like an email immediately, and it is truly immediately. Within a second or two after they've clicked the submit button, I receive my email notification that I've got a staff member or a student that's been found positive. So that is our building of the program itself, which leads us to the second portion of it. And again, Chris, Riz, either one of you have a question, go ahead, feel free to ask. I want to make sure I answer as much as I possibly can in the time allotted. But we have our questions. We have our assigned colored badging. We have our schedule, and now it becomes part of our daily routine. That's the first portion because that allows us to collect all that data automatically. It's all coming back, and it's secure database stored. So organizations have access to it, and I will show you the analytics and where it's all stored shortly. But the second portion of it is truly how are we using those colored badges? I see organizations that have the capability to actually put a person at an entry doorway and scan people in to make sure they have the appropriate credentials to come in. I see other organizations that simply cannot for staffing purposes. They're using this tool solely for collecting of the answers for the questions and answers and the data they're in. When it comes to scanning, I showed you it's pretty simple for a person to have a badge on a smartphone, and when they go to make entry into the building, to go ahead and display that badge on entry into the building. And that's for scanning purposes. I wanted to make sure people understood is you're not required to have a smartphone. You can imagine small children in school. Their parents answered questions that allows them to have an entry badge, but the small children, they don't have a smartphone. Even adults, they might not have a smartphone. So the technology of a smartphone is not required for entry. We've created a way that these badges can be translated to something that they already have. For example, if a person in an organization has an ID card that already has a barcode on it, we will map this barcode to match our QR code, which means upon entry with no electronics, they simply show their normal ID, and when this is scanned, it exposes the answers for that day. So no electronics needed. We've also seen organizations that have taken little tiny barcodes about the size of a stamp and added those either to an ID that they already have or simply to a tag like a key ring or a bag tag. So again, the electronic portion of it is not really required as long as they use one of our assigned QR code for an individual. That means every time they show up at an entry point for scanning, once it's scanned, it will expose those answers for that day. And I say for that day because it's important, because every day these QR codes expire. There's no such thing as taking a screenshot of a nice green badge and showing it the next day. It'll be denied because it expires daily. So aside from badging and ways to show credentials upon entry, we have to talk about scanning. Scanning itself, you've probably noticed that I had some equipment in the background over here, like a barcode scanner. Really not necessary. I see some organizations doing it. We have built in on the device itself, any smartphone that's operating on the CrisisGo app can simply go in and choose to make their smartphone now the scanner. And the scanner gives them the capability to go in and scan any badge as they see fit. So I can put staff with their smartphones at entry points, and they become the person that's actually verifying the capabilities for those to enter. Keep in mind, every time everything is scanned, again, that information is stored in our secure database. So there are a lot of ways to ask questions, to gain answers, to give credentials, and then scan credentials at an entry to a doorway. Other equipment I see used, some organizations don't have staff. There's simply not enough staff to put at all those entry doorways. They might be using a fixed device, like a tablet that has the CrisisGo app on it. It's in front camera mode, and a person can go up and simply scan their badge on entry, not requiring a human to be there to scan for them. Of course, people can also walk by that. So we found the most effective way to get exact, honest information, ask the questions, collect the data, issue the colored badge. When they make entry, have a human verifying that they're either exposing their badge in front of a scanner or scanning them individually through a smartphone. The only reason I've ever seen people go out and purchase an actual barcode scanner, because it's really not necessary, is for speed. If I have a lot of people coming through one doorway in a very short amount of time, barcode scanners are extremely fast, less than a quarter of a second per scan, which means I can get a lot of people into a doorway, still maintain social distancing, and there's no delays on scanning to come in. Otherwise, I see most organizations either using a stationary device that's mounted to a wall, maybe in a lockable box, or simply a smartphone that they already have. So that's the scanning portion of it, taking us in. Questions on any of that? Can you think of, Chris?
Excellent. A lot of exciting points coming to my mind. The overall solution sounds really very practical, I would say. I think that's the right word. If the service and solution is practical, which means it's robust, it's efficient, and it sounds very the most minimum operational cost involved,
Correct.
which most
Correct.
organizations are looking for these days. Later, I would like you to explain. I'm sure you're going to explain them, but just I shouldn't forget. One is in a scenario where either a student or a staff member or a colleague, if they have reported to be sick, then how that situation is handled.
How do we move forward with that information? So
Yeah.
iPass in itself, by design, is the ability to ask the questions, gain the answer, issue the badge, and scan people into a building for record. I'm going to show you real quickly where that information is stored. So if I were to go into a building and get scanned, and I answer my questions in the morning, I got scanned into a building. All of this information is stored in our secure database. Every organization has access to it. They can limit the access to those people only they want to have access to it. All permissions are entirely up to the organization, and they can be modified in any way they need. They can allow some people to have scanning capabilities, but not have the ability to actually view the data. So it's entirely up to them who they want to have access. This is our dashboard, if you will. This is a poor depiction because I don't have any real people I can send emails out. These are actually not real people, but fake people. If I were to give it a better view, it probably would look more like this over time. So in the morning, I could take a look at it and I could see a percentage of people that answered okay to come in. That percentage of people that are gray that didn't answer a question at all, and other categories as well. All of this information can be pulled either by an individual building or all buildings if they chose to do so. And again, they can break it down and simply look at it as an individual person, one by one. All of it is exportable. They can export it in digital or printable formats, so they have it. It's important that every organization is able to stand with their own practices. We want to make sure they have the data. We want to make sure that they can get their hands on it and use it as they see fit, which leads me to that next portion. We talked about what happens when someone is reported positive with COVID-19. So now that we have asked the questions, received the answers, and scanned, most importantly, scanned everybody into a venue or a building, we have our contact listing. Contact listing is the ability to see who has been found positive, who has been placed into quarantine, what that timeline is on quarantine, or probably the biggest thing, all those people that said, yes, I'm fine, I have no symptoms, I can come in, but one day they answer the question, I've been found positive. It's important for us to be able to take a look at the past and see who they were near during that time. So on my screen right now, you're looking at those, in this case, students who have been placed on quarantine, either because of close contact or have been found positive, and my ability to change timelines on their quarantine as well. If I have somebody that only needs to be on quarantine for 10 days based on the time they were notified of exposure, or somebody that needs to be on quarantine for a longer period of time. This is available and up to the organization to change what timeline they need them to be on quarantine. If I have a new case, as Riz was pointing out, I simply click on new case. For example, I'll go with a student today in a middle school. Last name of King. I search for the student, and when I find David King, I select them and save them. Now, David King's at the top of my list, but who has he been exposed to? Who has been exposed to him? Who was in close contact? Right over here, I can go up and I can select my view close contacts. And now that gives me the option to look at a varied way of contacts. I can look at who just answered questions, or I can look at who actually scanned in. Who scanned in to this building on that same date and time? Or even more detailed, who scanned in to that building and they spent time in the same room together? Classrooms, obviously, in business models, we can have zones, which are sections of a business, such as a marketing or a sales department, or any department anybody sees fit, to actually basically not track the person, but track their schedule. Contact listing is designed to be less intrusive than following people through GPS and seeing who they've been physically in close contact with. We're looking to compare schedules and see who they were scheduled to be near for any period of time. I want to know who scanned in and was in the same classes together over a period of time. And I'm going to go since last Friday till today. If I take a look at all of these classes this one individual went to. Over the course of those days, these are the different classes they went into and the rooms they went into. On the 6th, I can go ahead and select one or all if I choose to do so. And with one click, I can see who they were near. All of the other students they spent time with in each class for that day. And again, expand it out and take a look at the next day as well. So we're really giving every organization the ability to look back in time based on schedules and see who was where with who for any length of time. That is the real question as far as exposure. Who did you spend considerable time in close proximity with in the past? And this is simple. And again, exportable. All of this information is easily accessed, easily exportable, and contacts can be made to them, letting them know of a possible quarantine. So that in itself is the very short version of contact listing. Again, I wanted to focus on the fact that we're not tracking people, we're tracking schedules. That's why it's contact listing instead of contact tracing. We're looking at where people were scheduled to be together in different rooms or different buildings, and looking at the other people that were around them during that time. So it is very scheduled based, and it's limited only to the organization. They can scan as detailed or schedule as detailed as they want, and we'll capture all that information. So that in itself is the product that the scanning allows, that contact listing based on schedules. So questions about that?
Wow, I love that. That's really incredible because, in this digital transformation age we live in, on an everyday basis, everyone talks about privacy. Nobody wants to share their intimate and valuable information, their whereabouts, their locations, biometric data like fingerprints or eye scans. So I think this product is, I love that phrase that we are tracking schedules. So I think that's sort of the X factor in all of this, and which I believe organizations or institutions would really love that at the same time you're able to control situations and the daily routine during the COVID, but at the same time your privacy and information and data is not touched, it's not interfered
Absolutely,
with.
absolutely.
That's really,
very little and very less intrusive. Just
that's
finding
really
out where
neat.
they're scheduled to be.
Yeah, because a lot of solutions which are out in the market, they're taking a lot of information, a lot of data. Like obviously, we already have literally everything because of our smartphones, either it's iOS or Android. They literally know, well, what time we wake up, what time we go to pee. So I think this kind of information and this kind of features in this product is really neat and really it's really incredible. Uh, Another thing I would like to know, actually three things which are coming to my mind. Also, if during our conversation, if is it possible to play that short video of the schools on iPass you guys made? I think it'll be really nice if our audience would be able to see that about 1 minute, a few seconds of clip of that. How does that work? And then later, I would like you to talk about the crisis go solution on how to deal with emergency situations. If there is emergency response, there is a situation in an institution or a school or an organization where there's an intruder or terror-related situation. So how does and how effective crisis go can help that establishment to deal with that and to ensure that everyone is in contact, everyone is safely quarantined and secured, and how the whole situation plays into.
As far as our video, I don't currently have that loaded unless you do, Chris, if you have that loaded and can actually share a screen on that. And I'm showing you muted, Chris.
Okay.
As far as our emergency
I
response
have
mass notification.
Sorry, I have the video. Do you Raise? I can send to you the link, or you want me to share? It's up to you.
If you or Tim can play on your screens.
Sure. Let me, Tim, I'm going to give you the link.
Okay.
Just a sec. There we go. Yeah, here we go.
I love that video of the schools. It's really to the point, and it gives quite a bit of information to the audience how the actual service works.
Okay, let me see if I can get this to full screen and have audio.
With safely returning to school in a COVID-19 environment. Parents, teachers, and community members are worried about how schools can resume while also keeping families safe and providing a quality education to students. Schools can use Crisis Go's Safety iPass to pre-certify students, staff, and visitors using a digital check-in system that is reliable and easy to use. Safety iPass utilizes digital badges that are updated daily to mark the status of students based on certification by their parents. With Safety iPass, schools can more efficiently and effectively admit students into school buildings or onto school buses by using a pre-certified digital badge to confirm that the student is safe to return. A critical obstacle for many districts will be managing the health status, certification, and pre-certification of students and staff to ensure only healthy individuals are allowed into schools. Crisis Go's Safety iPass solution allows schools to confidently navigate this challenge while monitoring potential risk by using intelligent survey tools and intuitive reports that manage entry and immediately escalate notifications of COVID-19 positive results from staff or students to school health services. No matter the size or makeup of your school district, Crisis Go's Safety iPass gives your schools the ability to return as safely and effectively as possible. Visit safetyipass.com for more information on our newest solution offerings.
Love that ad. Excellent.
And I would say, Ray's, one thing that we learned, we launched the product late July, and we saw different schools and organizations kind of completely shutting down, right? At the beginning, I call it phase one. Um, Everybody basically being confined, and they basically closed the schools. Phase two, they started, mid-August, starting hybrid mode, right? Basically reopening, uh, online learning, and sometimes, basically doing hybrid where you have some kids coming at school to minimize the number of kids at the same time at the school. So let's call it phase two in my mind. And that's really, we see a lot of school today opening that way, right? They try to minimize the number of people inside the building, and they really try to really be hybrid learning. And we are supporting this. We integrate with all the student information system in the industry to understand, when to send a survey based upon the schedule of the kids. Um, we see now really, but we see with this situation, school are still suffering. We see with the hybrid or closing school a lot of problems now with kids. Some of the kids they don't really have the capability to really learn correctly when they are at home, and there's a lot of other issue coming up with this. So we also see, recently a survey saying that basically school are the essential of the essentials, right? As you said, Rez, at the beginning, if you're really closing school, you are impacting the parents. You are impacting the economy. A recent survey said that, closing school impacted 10% of the GDP in the US, by closing school. 70 more than 70 million students in the US. It's a huge problem. So that's why we started our business, really focusing on making sure that the kids are safe and are finding a way to really reopen what we call in the new normal, the school. Having every kid going at school, and you cannot do it without before having a vaccine, without having a strong screening, validation, escalation, quarantine, and making it very quick. Testing, screening, and contact tracing will be very, very key to reopen until we have a vaccine. So really important that really Crisis Go came up with this kind of complete solution, not only doing the screening, not only asking the student every day the questions or the employees, but also validating the entry in the building, be able to really gather the data. So when COVID-19 is happening, we know who are potential close contact, and we can quarantine not the whole school. We don't have to shut down the whole school because we have the data. We will basically quarantine only a very small subset of the people, and that's really key for the new normal. The COVID-19 is not going to disappear anytime soon. So as if we have a quick communication platform allowing to quickly detect people, we will be able to contain the spread. And that's really the solution we have, from everything from screening to quarantine management.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I think you're spot on the point that the key thing is how we can contain this, and in order to contain solutions like Crisis Go, where it gives you the capability to trace and scan and monitor and record the information and data, and then act on it accordingly. I think that's the key. Uh, uh, a lot of ideas coming to my mind. My marketing and then the business development soul is talking to me. I think there's a great business case in the Crisis Go solution where all of these features can be used. I remember last time we were talking, and you wanted to talk about it, and I'm sure you guys are working on it. There's a great business case in retail and distribution environment as well, where the same solution can be used as attendance for the organizations, uh, the sales and operations, stocks, how the inventory is replenished and all those factors. I think you guys have the right tool, which can be really effective and are really useful in plenty of areas within the industry, in retail and distribution and operations. Um,
Yeah,
Tell us about
and
that.
I will say, yeah,
Brett.
I will let Tim explain what we are doing for retail. We have several customers really using what we call safety screening, safety checking. Sorry, but just to let our communication platform goes beyond just the COVID-19 safety iPass product. We build mission critical platform for communicating during any kind of incident. As a matter of fact, we push, or promote our customers to really use Crisis Go app to report incidents, right? So every employee, a restaurant staff, for example, see violence outside coming from protest and things like that, can report instantly, a problem. And that basically that report goes automatically to a safety team, and the safety team can also push alerts out, right, to the staff saying that there's a potential problem coming up, there's a potential hurricane coming up. So the solution we have is allowing each person to be part of it, to basically notify the safety team, and having, of course, the safety team notifying the employees. We also have what we call escalation to law enforcement. So even law enforcement can be part of that resolution. So remember, we have prepare, response, and recovery, and we offer the complete solution to basically be to have an incident, minimizing the problem during any kind of incident, whether it's a small incident, harassment, or anything, or personal harassment, or basically a big fire, hurricane, or active shooter. We offer that. We also, with the safety checking, that's what Tim was probably will present to you, is the capability to pulse employees about the safety. When people are working from home, do they have all the equipment necessary for having him working at home? Are they feeling good? Do they need assistance? All that kind of a daily, weekly, monthly, survey, pulsing the employees, questioning the employees about something. All of that is part of our communication platform we have, in addition to safety iPass product. Tim, you have anything you want to add on safety checking?
I can add probably just a brief view of our safety check-in tool. Safety check-in tool is truly nothing more than a very intelligent survey. A safety check-in is the ability to send out a series of questions to my staff. For example, I have several on my screen here. This staff needs assistance survey was found to be hugely beneficial to a lot of organizations using our tool. It gave them the ability to send out a series of questions and let them select if things were going well, if things were not going well. This was done fairly early on in the COVID-19 crisis, where staff were trying to just maintain contact with their employees. Businesses wanted to know how their staff were doing. They had the ability to create any type of question, any type of response they wanted to. It's completely flexible. But when an individual answered a specific way, it routed them to another set of questions asking a little more detailed information. And finally, once again, clicking on that submit button. That submit button would route that individual's specific issues to a group or an individual who's a subject matter expert. So if I have 5 different possible responses here, I could truly have 5 different receiving groups or SMEs to assist my staff in whatever they may need. So it gave a lot of organizations the ability to stay in contact, to express concern for their staff, as well as offer assistance in a lot of different ways, whether it was just simply through guidance to other organizations that could assist or internally within the organization. But it was met with a lot of respect by employees. They were very happy to know that their company cared about them, would ask these questions of them, and assist them in a lot of different needs they might have. Chris talked about, working remotely and having the right equipment. These were very typical of people that were having financial loss or stress. They were having, emotional grief due to loss of a loved one. But all of these submission answers routed to a subject matter expert group who was able to assist their employees with some of the issues that were in front of them, and very well received by the staff of those companies.
Excellent. Tim, I would be very keen for our audience to, if you can walk us through on the mission critical and emergency response situations, either it's in school, in an organization, when there's an emergency situation, either it's a hurricane or an active shooter, or there's an earthquake or some protest. So, how the Crisis Go app and the solution can help them stay in contact, quarantine, isolate, placed at a safe spot. So please, do your magic.
Yes, as far as mass notification goes, the mainstay of our business was the ability for everyone inside of a venue or a building to be notified instantly if an issue, a circumstance were to happen. And there are lots of different types of emergencies that can happen, all the way from an armed intruder to just maybe even a mild medical emergency, not even a severe medical emergency. But we wanted people working together inside of a building the ability to get mass immediate notification. And by immediate, I mean everybody gets notified in 1.5 seconds, everybody that needs to. These
Wow.
situations you see on my screen can be anything. Lots of organizations already have their own standard operation procedures for different types of emergencies. These pictures can be anything an organization chooses them to be. The types of emergencies can be anything an organization decides them to be. The importance is they're available for those that might need to press a button to notify people of an emergency or simply request help. Organizations get to decide who has the capabilities of pressing these buttons, as well as who the receivers are once they're sent. And in many cases, a simple minor medical emergency might not need to go to everyone everywhere in a building, but a leadership group or a response group, a small percentage of the staff would need to know. So we can route these in a direction that the right people get to request the help should they need it, as well as the right people get to respond and get the notification. It should be known that our alerts are overriding, much like an Amber Alert or a government stasis alert. When you receive it on your phone, it overrides the settings on your phone. If you have your phone on silent, you'll still receive an audible noise. Our alerts do that as well. So people will get the notification. Doesn't have to be a phone. We have a desktop version of the app as well that does the exact same thing, but it's made for laptop, desktop computers. Probably notable that our app operates on all devices: the Chromebook, desktop, laptop, tablet, Android, iPhone. It works on all of them. So we wanted to make sure everybody had the capability to notify or request that help if they need. And there is really no way for others not to receive it. As long as they have some type of connectivity, whether that's 4G or 5G or Wi-Fi, everybody will receive the notification and help will be on its way. But it is very immediate.
Excellent. So is it possible to see a sort of a walkthrough or a demo?
Sure. I've got two devices on my phone right now. My one on my left is, this is a leader in an organization. They're responsible for a lot of different locations. If I go back and select the location they're in, they can have lots of different organizations, different businesses, different locations if they choose to do so. where my one on the right is probably works in one specific building or one office only. So that said, if I were to send an alert as a leader, as far as notification goes, if I picked up my fire or explosion, it gives me the capability of calling it a drill as opposed to an actual alert for drill management and drill recording purposes. All of your drills become paperless now because our system records all of your drills for you. Or leave it as it auto-populates as an actual emergency, such as a fire or explosion. It gives the capability for extra location information. It also gives the capability for any extra types of information you may want. But you don't have to fill it in. Most people in a real emergency don't want to fill in extra information. They simply want to get the notification out. But notice as I send it out, the speed at which others receive it. Evacuate the building. Evacuate the building. Evacuate the building. So incredibly fast and incredibly fast.
Sorry to interrupt. So while I'm sitting here across the Atlantic, I think we are really far away from the US, down at the bottom of Africa. I have the Crisis Go app on my device. So can we show to our audience if I can log into a test account and then we can show that how quickly I can get the response and the alerts?
Absolutely. Give me a moment here to pull up a test account for you.
Last time you made, it's the same one, you have to make a new one?
I don't know. Let me look. I might have taken you out to avoid disrupting you.
Tracking me.
Yeah. Oftentimes when I do a demo, I'll remove you because you're going to get a lot of noise when I do my next demo. These credentials on my screen right here might be a little hard for you to see, but it's D Silver, D-S-I-L-V-E-R.
Just one second.
At 85111.
Okay. D Silver.
At 85111.
85111. Okay.
And I gave you a password of 123.
Okay, I'm signing in. Okay, I'm in. Excellent.
Okay, I'm going to show you on the desktop version of the app. I'll slide these ones out of the way. And again, it works on both. So if I'm at a desktop location, if I'm a front lobby, if I'm the front receptionist, or simply in a room with a desktop computer, for me to send a notification is exactly the same. So I select on my one place to warn. I choose from my different types of emergencies. I'm probably going to go ahead and choose this armed intruder one right now. It asks me because I'm in charge of lots of locations where I want to send it. Most would not have to choose because they would only be at one location. And when I go next, this looks familiar, but it asks me if this is real or if it's a drill. I'm going to leave this as real because we're the only ones in here right now. And when I hit send, 8,000 miles away, you're going to receive it as well. So here we go, send.
Lockdown.
Wow.
Locks. Lights. Out of sight. Lockdown. Locks. Lights.
So
out
should
of
I
sight.
press cancel or check?
Lockdown. Locks. Lights. Out of sight.
Go ahead and press any button, check or checklist. So yeah, it's immediate. The distance has no bearing. It's connectivity. It's global connectivity. I've done lots of international demonstrations in Japan, in Nigeria, and lots of other countries, and the distance doesn't have bearing. It will go just as fast.
It's really incredible. It was, I think, less than a second, if I'm not wrong.
It's incredibly fast. Our average is like 1.34 seconds. I've seen it go a little bit longer. I've seen it oftentimes go much less, but if you want everybody everywhere inside of a building to be notified of an emergency at the same time without fail, because people need to know to take steps to keep themselves or others around them safe, that's a simple solution.
Yeah, they need to be informed in real time. And then I get, even the message with it, what the emergency is about. That's also important, because then
Absolutely.
the person needs to behave in according to that situation.
And again, I think it's probably important to bring up that the types of emergencies that can be listed, the pictures that are listed for each emergency and description, even the alarm sounds you receive are all completely customizable to suit the organization's needs. It needs to be able to bend to what they already have in place. If they already have a system in place, the app needs to be able to adapt to their system. So it's just a faster way of them doing the same business.
Okay, so when this thing happens, so what are the flexible and the easy steps or features in the solution for a person to react or behave in that particular situation? So in terms of messaging or video or voice notes, so when, for example, if there is an intruder or some armed terrorist or attacker coming to our building, of course, the state of my mind will be different, and I don't have time to type a message or read a message. So
Sure.
tell us what various options Crisis Go have.
So we wanted to build in not only a way to receive emergency alerts, to know something was happening, but once an emergency takes place, you have to be able to communicate through that emergency. In my history on law enforcement as well as military, noticing that there's a major security breach or problem taking place is one thing, but the real issue is, how do you handle it? How do you communicate to each other? So I'm going to sign in as my trainer role, just to make sure nobody else receives any of this. And I'll pull that one back up on the screen. Okay. So you can see that I have some emergencies that have taken place. We've sent some alerts, you and I have, and they're all logged right here. This is my message group. The message group is where we communicate during an emergency. It allows me and the other people in the building to communicate. I am listed as a manager or a leader in an organization. All of my other people can be listed as members or just frontline employees of an organization. But once that comes up on screen and it's time for us to physically communicate, we go inside the message group itself. And when we get inside that message group, it's obvious we're in a state of emergency. It's obvious that things are happening that we need to communicate. But in my case, if I wanted to send a message as a manager, I can simply go in and I can send any message I want to you. I'll just say, hi, how are you? And when I hit send, you'll receive it.
Yeah, got it.
1.5 seconds or so, right?
No,
it's
same.
text. Yeah, it's fast. Text is text. Text is okay. Text is a form of communication, but oftentimes text is extremely difficult when you're under stress.
Absolutely.
Text requires fine motor skills. You have to have the ability to do fine motor skills to text. And for those purposes, if you take a look at this plus sign I have up here, we built in some other tools to communicate that don't require fine motor skills. If I select that plus sign, we have the image one. The image one, if I select it, it gives me the ability to take a picture and send it on its way. So I take a picture and send it on its way. Use photo or audio button. There we go. I don't have any settings set up on this phone. Click on something and send it to me, Riz. Go ahead and click on a picture and send me a picture, or click on an audio button and send me an audio bite.
Hi.
Hi. Did you send a picture my way? There's an audio bite.
Yeah.
You gave me a 1 second audio bite. The audio button in itself, it's the one that eliminates texting completely. If I am too stressed, if I'm under duress and I can't text, I can't conduct that fine motor skill. If I simply touch and hold that green button on my screen, it starts counting down from 60 seconds, and I can just hold the button down. As long as I'm touching the button, I can look around, pay attention to what's going on around me, and it'll record everything I say. And when I release it, it tells me I have 9 seconds of recorded audio. And when I hit the check, you just received it. All you have to do is click on that gray 9-second on your side and it'll play. So pictures,
This is really incredible
audio,
because
video.
in emergency situation, I'm not in a state of mind where, I'm actually able to type and explain the situation. I think in the best is the most natural way that you can speak, you can talk. So
Absolutely.
I can, record something and say, what is happening? Where am I? What I can see. And, even I can take a picture. Taking a picture and sending the situation will be much easier than typing it. So I think that's really incredible. That's really neat.
How about your location pin? Go ahead and touch that location pin on your side. It's this one right here. And after you touch it, just hit send in the upper right.
Allow once. Okay. It's send, gone.
Now, you're David Silver. I just received yours. It says you are right here.
Yeah.
It's Google-based technology, accurate within 20 meters. It's a very good tool for letting
That's
people
really
know not only you have an emergency, but this is where I'm at. So again, a very easy way to communicate other than text. I have the ability as a leader to send my information to everybody. My members that are not leaders, they have only the capability to send a message to me, the leaders in the organization. So it's an emergency communication platform. Again, this is completely flexible. Some organizations want everybody to have the capability to send messages to everybody. Some do not. So again, that's a permissions-based on the organization's needs. But
so we can
alerting,
choose and select,
I'm sorry?
we can choose and select who can we send a message and what kind of message.
Correct, correct. We believe it's organizations, it's their responsibility to decide how it should be used, who should receive, who has the capabilities. The tool is flexible enough to adapt to their needs, as opposed to giving them a tool and telling them this is what you must use. This is more like giving them a tool and saying, how can we make this tool suit your needs? So very flexible.
Excellent. Okay. Thanks, Tim. I think we have covered a lot of exciting and interesting points in today's session, and I would like our audience to keep their excitement alive. Keep some other new stuff for upcoming sessions. I would like to extend my gratitude and thanks to Tim and Chris for joining us today, giving us such an immersive and important session on the crisis go solution and projects and how to deal with, how to enable and go back to our normal lives in post-COVID era. Along with that, we have learned the Crisis Go has a solution which can help you deal with the mission critical and emergency situations, either in a school, in an organization, an office, any building, in a public place. That was really incredible, Tim. I really appreciate your time. And then the solution is really robust. I really enjoyed it. And I'm sure our audience have enjoyed the session. And I'm very confident that you're quite impressed with the solution. And if you would like more information, you can reach me or Tim or Chris. We'll share the information later on social media with the contacts, and we would love to hear your thoughts. And if you would like a demo or a training session anywhere you are, just let us know and we'll be happy to do that. So Tim, I would like you to say some sign-off words to our audience till we meet next time.
My biggest final thoughts was be prepared. We have a variety of tools that are for emergency response as well as for just day-to-day documentation and survival safety, if you will, for this COVID-19 period. So be prepared and find an easier way to navigate.
Thank you, Tim. I think I love that phrase, be prepared. I think that's the key. In the times we're living in, I think the key is to be prepared. Have your different and various control measures in place. Being prepared it always helps to deal with a situation. I think when you're trying to deal with a pandemic which is invisible, it's all about quarantine and isolation. So how effectively you can manage that, how effectively while managing that, you are allowing your daily lives to run. On that note, I would like to sign off from Johannesburg, South Africa. Good evening, good afternoon, and good night to all our audience across the globe. Till we meet next time, this is Rez signing off from Bond Space Station. Be safe, everyone. Be alert and be prepared.